What's up, Randall, aka Boogs?
What's going on,
First
Tim?
time having you on. Thanks for
Yes,
hopping
sir.
on.
Thanks for
So
having
this is about Blokpax. We've had an ongoing saga with this the last couple weeks.
a saga to say the least. It is a unique description that Sappy brought back from Dallas, and we kind of went with it.
Yeah. I mean, basically, I have you to blame for hopping in on this. I think because I saw this scroll through your Facebook group, DC Sports '87. For anybody who hasn't found a good break group. They were one of the first that I hopped in with, and that's how we met unofficially, now officially. And they're a fantastic group. But yeah, I was scrolling through
Thank
your feed as I do, and I've stepped back from breaking into group breaks a little bit just because of budget and stuff. And I saw this and I was like, huh, this is different. Did a little research, and you were breaking packs of these named PAX, PAX. So
you.
tell me a
Yes.
little bit about that. Yeah.
So how we got into it, or the idea of breaking packs, I actually failed with that. To be honest, the whole idea, we didn't even group break it the way they wanted us to. Um, so the
That was the
idea,
intent, though. Yeah.
yes, it absolutely was. But I think the way we went about it was just as beneficial because everybody received the benefits that they could, from the Frax tokens to actually opening the packs and following them any way they wanted. They didn't have to wait on us to until we got access to the packs. They had to wait for them, but they didn't have to wait on us for to open it for them or do any of that stuff for them.
But that's how it was supposed to go, right? Like on release day, you were supposed to get all your packs. You were supposed to open a bunch for like each person who bought in. Was that the intent there? I mean, I
Yeah,
wasn't
so
quite
the
sure.
intent with one of the ideas for us to open the break and kind of do the giveaways was we'd open up a pack, match it up to a break member, and then they'd get that token no matter what. But then let's say we'd open the first Ruby, pack with a Ruby token type card in there, then they would get a giveaway or something like that. So since I absolutely did it wrong, that's why a few people ended up with 201, or one extra pack, one off their number, or just one pack only. We ended up just distributing them, and we've had a master distribution list that we're going to turn around and we're going to run a giveaway for the three Frax tokens, and then for the one actual card that our break account won.
That's pretty cool. And I think so. Just to take a step back, because some people aren't even familiar with the terms we're throwing around. What you were selling were these individual packs, PAX. Think of them as like, I mean, I hate to say the word Raz on air, but that's what the intent was. So this is almost like a legalized Raz slash sweepstakes, and each of those packs, when you opened them as a digital pack, gave you a token. Each one of those tokens allowed you one spot out of the 2,048 spots for a given card. And then a drop means the number of cards or just a group of cards that was being sold in this format. And there were what, 50 cards? I think there was 50.
50
Yeah,
cards.
50 cards. So each of those cards had 2,048 packs associated with them or tokens associated with them. And so each one of these packs gave you a random token to one of those random cards. You had no control over it. And I
No.
thought that was kind of interesting as a group break, right? You're essentially opening digital packs and a little bit of a surprise element there, and a little bit different format than a group break because you're opening a pack into a card, not necessarily a product. So you're like randomizing to a card. Yeah.
Well, I mean, just mentioning of that, that was the major obstacle I think a lot of us were just grabbing the concept of, is because, as you and I think pretty much are, we prefer the actual physical card in our hand, the tangible item. So understanding
Right.
that this digital picture that's 2048 images of is going to hold value to this end was kind of a hard concept for quite a few of us to understand.
It's so foreign. There's so much just awkwardness and like hesitancy and just like I don't know, like even just people putting it down. This whole concept of an NFT or non fungible token, and that's the definition of the word: is you can't touch it. It's not physical. But that's where Jeff French, so the creator of this, I think really stepped into something cool. Is that why do we need the physical card in the hobby? I mean, so much of what we do and view and trade and everything associated with a card is online anyway. And so the idea is that, you've got this digitalized version of a card that you can trade and pass around really easily, sell, have fun with.
Yeah, and I think that was what the draw to us who were tangible card holders is that at the end, well, first off, we all enjoyed. So for everybody to understand, there's 11 rounds of eliminations. Not to jump right into it quickly, but at the very
Sure.
end,
Yeah, no, we might as well.
it's
Yeah.
going to be 50 winners who get that one token, and that one token is actually kind of a unique, rare token because that is going to be one of the first tokens actually on the NFT market where I think, right, you can redeem it for the tangible item. So you turn around, you redeem it to Blokpax, and they'll mail you that
Mm-hmm.
physical card. They had all 50 cards on display at the
Yep.
Nationals and at each show that they had. So I do think that's where the interesting bit that drew us in is like, well, we participated in what these things are called RASs, and this is just really a legitimate way to do it.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what suckered me in is if it wasn't for having a physical card at the end of the road, I would have just passed this over because
Me too.
NFTs have just been foreign to me. Like I did not understand the point. And this was my crossover into the NFT world. It finally suckered me in.
And I see you're
Um,
doing all kinds of fun stuff with that, which that's still beyond my expertise. Obviously,
yeah.
you picked up a few things that I still cannot get.
People make fun of me. I bought a picture of a cat, and that's an NFT. Somehow it's worth more than a lot of the cards in my collection. It's disgusting.
What? That's
It's so
awesome.
silly. It's
It's amazing, and I think that's what drew me in specifically, and why I thought I could present it to our community. Not even we weren't presenting it to the card community. They asked us, and we were kind of the bridge because of the largeness of our group. So by being able to do that, it was easier for me to kind of not sell it, but talk about it. You know what I mean? When you can
yeah.
talk about something that you're excited about, it's quite easy and it's quite fun to do. If that makes any sense. I'm sorry.
No, it does, and people can see right through that, right? When you're just purely shilling or selling something versus something you're excited about. And I could tell you were excited about it. I mean, I think we were, right? This was a very novel. I mean, it still is a very novel, but also a very foreign concept. And I think that's what people are still having a really hard time with. I mean, even for example, just going back to these packs, people got kind of upset, including me. I was a little irritated at one point where I was like, why don't I get to open these, right? Like, I thought I was buying these. And I think that's part of the novelty of the experience is that, you go into your account online once you have these transferred to your crypto wallet, you get to click on them through the Blokpax website. And just like opening a pack of cards, you get to click on these, and there's this fancy little animation that was actually pretty fun. And you got this little surprise element of, hey, what token am I getting for this one given packs? So there is like still a tangible experience associated with it, with the hopes of winning a tangible card. And I think that's where some of the misconception is. It's like, oh, this is just a Raz. This is a glorified 2048 spot Raz for a card, which at the end of the day, it is and it was. But yeah, there's all sorts of facets to it that I think are just novel and foreign to people, and people don't like new things, right?
That's true, but I thought it brought in a lot of the fun elements that actually kept us and brought us into the hobby. A lot of us razzed
Mm-hmm.
early on, got big
Mm-hmm.
into that, and now, you know, it's incredible to see the crypto market and what it's doing and how it's
Right.
evolving. And I mean, 5 years, I mean, even a year ago, me specifically, I wasn't in the crypto game. I didn't have any
Mm-hmm.
investments. And then 6 months ago, I downloaded Coinbase, got some Cardano, and I think Polygon. So, like, I
Yeah, yeah.
finally jumped in. I was
Two good
quiet about it.
choices.
Yeah. Well, actually, I didn't make smart choices. I had to make moves. So I sold each of them at the price point that I bought them at. And I swear to you, almost, week after it all starts skyrocketing again. So
I'm the king of selling things right before they skyrocket.
absolutely. So,
Uh, no, but
but
the two
yeah,
things you
so
mentioned, yeah, no, go ahead.
no, I completely understand your sentiment. Where people in our hobby, particularly, just don't like new things. So it was quite challenging to be able to provide the information. And I'll be sincere to you, it got frustrating because we provided so much information, and then you just kind of got the repetitive questions every post similarly,
Dude, I know,
and
right?
you're like, what are we doing wrong here? We're doing a bit of effort to help out.
Yeah, you really were. And because this was so new, it took a ton of explaining. I mean, just the amount of like questions that you dealt with was just absurd. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much because you're the one who bridged me into the OpenSea, MetaMask, and all that stuff and guided me. So, I mean, honestly, I was on vacation trying to figure that out, and then coaching to continue. So, thank you again.
It's not a vacation, but yeah.
No, it
Time
wasn't.
to learn that. No. But I think that's the main gripe I've heard from people is that, there's a lot of people that dip their toes into this without fully knowing what they were doing. But there's so many terms, so many barriers to this from the card world because crypto is just foreign to a lot of people, right? Cryptocurrency by itself is an odd concept. So you have to be able to buy cryptocurrency. You had to be able to set up this digital wallet for your crypto. You had to be able to transfer it to a certain exchange and a certain blockchain. And once you start talking blockchain, I think that's where people just jump off. They're like, okay, you lost me already. And then there were
Well,
more steps after that.
they almost lost me after just signing in the Blokpax. I mean, that's where I was.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so going into it, were you expecting to having all those extra steps and that much effort involved?
No, not at all. I was imagining, Blokpax, so BLOKPAX.com, Blokpax. I mean, I logged in and I was like, oh, okay, this is fantastic. This should be it, right? Like, I expected to be able to click and see those packs in my wallet, be able to open them, and I thought that was just going to be it. But there were so many steps. You had to get Ethereum, you had to transfer that or bridge it to this new network, Polygon or Matic, MATIC. So some of these cryptos that some people have heard about, but most people just had not been familiar with.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you had to initiate a wallet. You had to link it to a different website just so you could actually like link it to your wallet. And then you had to buy it, sync it with OpenSea.io, which is like the NFT marketplace that they were envisioning everybody was going to trade these tokens through. And that's where it was done. But to make all those jumps through Blokpax, through MetaMask, through buying crypto, to transferring it to OpenSea, to initiating your wallet on OpenSea, like even when I spelled that out for people step by step, people were like, "Oh, nope, I don't know how to do this." That's a huge barrier.
It was, and it still is. I mean, because now that you have the community who participated with it, they're still on the fence, and then those who sat out, I think, are actually somewhat intrigued because they got
I
answers
think so
without
too.
having
Yeah.
to get in.
Hmm.
So,
I think a lot of people were just standing by watching, right?
yeah, I think there's a
Yeah.
big crowd standing by because they weren't willing, or they weren't comfortable enough. It's not the word willing. They weren't comfortable enough in joining or jumping into something that they figured they'd get the fair value out of it that they were going to get. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. People were cautious, and I think that's appropriate. I
Yeah.
think,
So
yeah, go ahead.
no, as you mentioned, so each PAX was $5, and it doesn't seem like much, but
Mhm.
when you explained it out, that PAX is only one token of 102,000, over everything, because you don't even know what it's going to be assigned to. You don't know if you're going to get into this card or that. So many of those uncertainties. And then the main question was, do I really get a card, or is this thing going to stay here or there? So I
Mhm.
think now that the whole process is ran, those who jumped in and enjoyed it, they're probably gonna stay in. I've gotten that feedback. Those who are still somewhat hesitant may not jump in this round and see how it transfers. And then those who are
Yeah.
hesitant out, and then those naysayers who won't do the research,
Right.
they'll still do the same naysaying.
I could see it taking a couple drops before people are either really comfortable with it or have really made up their mind. And like from your perspective, what went well, what didn't go well for people? I mean,
All right. So what went well? The excitement and the transparency Jeff presented. He added a lot of that. He was upfront with that, but because he had to do that, that's where a lot of the negatives would probably come into say. So, for instance,
mm-hmm.
the extra delay, I know that was quite frustrating in the hobby. If they know they're expecting to get something and it's off
It's
an
like, yeah,
hour,
instant gratification.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that, and again, I think on Jeff's end, all they wanted to do was make sure they presented the product the right way. Um, the setting up the accounts and the time, I think that should be almost upfront and as advertised. Be like, hey, if you're really investing in this product, understand, give yourself 4 to 5 hours to really get involved, learn a bit about it, watch some videos, go through the process, learn each platform that you're getting familiar with. Understand this isn't going to be something where you just get the card, look up on eBay, see a comparative value, and then say, hey, I'm going to grade it, I'm going to do this. It takes a little bit of work. So I think understanding that and portraying that out and being upfront might be a little bit more welcoming than just saying, hey, you got to sign up here. And
Yeah, I think
then
that's a good point.
the other, probably the third, and I think would be a very important one, would probably space out the rounds and almost give it a
Yeah.
24-hour window. And then if you give it the 24-hour window, you know, it gives everybody ample amount of time to do it. Yes, it might drag it out a little bit, but I think from time to run anyways, it was about 8 to 9 days. So doing
Yeah.
it over an 11-day period really isn't that unheard of. It just might
It
cut
would have been
down
fine.
the first week, or the first week where it was given. I think you held your token for a week before the elimination round started. So maybe keep that in. And then it was what, 4 or 5 days, and then a week
Yeah.
break.
Yep. Yep.
So,
So,
but yes, give everybody that round. I think that was probably the number one frustration, is not the ample time around to shop the tokens, because that was given out. That was a advertised point in this, was the ability to sell and trade your tokens. Make sense?
no, exactly. And I think that's where this was a distinction between Raz versus this version of a sweepstakes or digital revolution.
Little Lincoln Park there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, baby. That's books for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, what you're referencing though is, so after you open the pack, so you start at 2,048 tokens. Every elimination round, how it's different is that, they eliminate 50% of these tokens, or burn them is the term.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it goes. Is so 2048, 1024, 512, 256, and onward down to a single remaining token. That's how a winner is determined. But the distinction here is that with each elimination round, you're saying that in between each of those rounds, there should have been more time for people to say, hey, this is what I'm left with. These are the tokens for the cars that I actually want to go trade for or buy. And that's what the whole marketplace was intended for. Um, and we'll talk about how that actually went down, I think. But yeah, I mean, that was fun. Like, I was a little skeptical that that was going to be an experience that was different, but it really was. I think early on there was just too many people, too many tokens, too many options to chase down. Not enough time to fully like wrap your head around what was happening. And then I think that I agree, there should have been a little bit more time. And I think part of that got skewed because of the delay, so people were getting impatient. But I think now that the kinks are fairly worked out, as far as I can tell, to give people that time to just kind of let things settle down and chase after what they actually want. I think that was fun, because on the Discord, where a lot of the chatter and a lot of the interaction was with people who are in this space, because that's how the crypto community is kind of used to dealing with it instead of just Facebook, there was a ton of activity for like people swapping tokens, buying tokens, selling tokens. It was pretty fun to watch. I will admit, it was really fun. So
So I'd like to add on to that. I'll tell you what, that was a failure that I had on my end, was actually learning the Discord side. And the
okay,
more and more I hear from some of the feedback is that people are like, man, Discord was amazing for this, for that
it really
feature
was.
in that. So
Yeah.
take the time to get into the Discord, download the app, and follow Blokpax.
And I think, but that's another step, another barrier, right? Because our car community is so used to everything happening on Facebook, especially in break groups. It's like, this is what I'm used to. Like, it's been so hard. I've seen it in so many breakers, not just you. People are so resistant to even use like a breaking website to like buy spots, Like,
Yeah.
it's like, why can't I just drop a comment in your group? Like, be done. And I think that was also part of the frustration for people, right? It's like, oh, new website, new server to chat, new wallet, like, and it just kept going. And I think it's just going to take so much investment, like you said, that people really should have just been told this is going to take some time to sit down and learn, right? Like, this isn't just going to happen. You can't just hop in. Like, if you want in,
Um,
you got to buy in. Like, yeah.
yes. And, to buy in, though, you've got to be, you still got to be intrigued by it. You know what I mean? So, like, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, in any break that we do, there's going to be a customer who wants to buy into certified football. There's going to be somebody who says that
Mm-hmm.
is the worst product ever. So same thing with this. It's going to be, if you really like it, I think those who really like it, they're pretty much into it. They're heavily invested, and they're invested where they're comfortable at. And I think just the way that the car community is, as is, just the more conversation is what you're doing. I think you're phenomenal. I mean, there was a joke in the group that one of our customers was privately working for Blokpax. I was like, they should be paying Tim. I've told my rep and
No.
junkie that they need to be paying you. So yeah, or Jeff French. I told Jeff and Adam. So, or Aaron. So yeah, golly, so many names. But
Yeah, a lot of
I
new people
think
we met.
with those type of personalities sharing the information, guiding where, information needs to go or be found, as reluctant as they are, they'll find it, because curiosity kills all our cats, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so I think what's really drawn people to this though is that you had a chance for $5 to win a John Morant, like, one of one silhouette patch auto, like one of his main RPAs that's probably gonna be really sought after in years. So that was one of the features. A Jordan PSA 7 rookie card. I mean, some pretty legit cards. The one I eventually lost out on was a 54 tops Hank Aaron, and there's quite the story behind that. That'll maybe save
Yeah,
for
let's
later.
talk
But
about that story.
yeah,
So, where did
yeah.
your, before you tell it, I guess I'll let you just tell it, but also let us know if it was the one that would have or wouldn't have. Because, right, that was,
Yeah, so let's set the context. So I bought in for 200 total packs. And the reason I did that was for something totally different from just buying into these cards. And I think this is another thing worth touching on because people were confused. Like, what the F is a frax, right? You had packs, you had frax, and they're completely separate. So one of the bonuses for buying a certain number of packs into these drops was to get a fractional share of completely different, separate from this, a Jordan PSA 10 that's been just locked away on the blockchain, as Jeff says, completely separate from this. So, like, as a bonus, I got a gold, a silver, and a bronze fractional share of this PSA 10. Again, completely separate, completely bonus. And that's what really drew me into buying these many packs. And so, just briefly, a gold token allows for a 1% share, so 0.01% share of this PSA 10, the silver, forgetting the percentages now. But
yeah, I'm
anyway,
not
yeah, like
familiar
out of
with,
499, out of
yeah.
2099, kind of numbered like cards, basically, to simplify it. And so at some point, like, yeah, my gold fractional share of a Jordan as a bonus is going to be worth something too. So separate from that. And so just that could be a whole different discussion about fractional shares. Like Jeff touched on that too, and how that's going to be really, really cool and kind of a new moment here in the hobby and tangible goods and stuff. So that's just a completely different topic. But anyway, back to the packs. So 200 packs, and you alone in your break group, you sold what 6,000, or that was five
So
thousand,
we
6,000.
sold. So we sold. We we were allocated 9,000, and then we pulled 300 and like 33, I think, or 30ish, or something along those lines, for giveaways. So we
Mm-hmm.
ended up selling 8,650 ish.
Oh my goodness, yeah, that's way more than I thought.
Yeah.
That's a ton. But just for perspective, so you sold that many. I bought 200, and I feel like that was still just a drop in the bucket. I mean, it was a large drop, but
So
it was a drop. Yeah.
yeah, so here's a funny. I actually went through and did a few things to figure out how we were going to do our giveaway to make it
Yeah.
fair to everybody for how they purchased in, because the fracks, to spend the fracks, it was $1,000 to get the gold one, and with getting the
Uh-huh.
gold one, if you bought the 200, you got each subsequent one below that. So the silver was 100 packs, and that was $500, but you got the bronze token along with it.
Mm-hmm.
So with man, I always lose my train of thought. Um,
You're good. You did some
when
math about the packs and how that all worked out.
yeah, so with the crap, man, with the fractional packs in the Jordan, they all add up to the certain percentage, and that's a card that's the first of its kind to be on what
Mm-hmm.
they call the blockchain. And you're right. I think that was one of the major drawing points in. And I'm back to what my numbers were. Out of all that we sold 7,500 packs, and those are all from allocations, if that makes sense. So those were guys who either purchased
Okay.
30, 100, or 200. That's how much was invested
Wow.
in those Jordan fracks. I think that's what sold the product itself.
It was. And the reason for that is, so $5 a pack, 200 packs that I bought, that was $1,000. And so just to throw a little bit more math out there, the bronze token out of 2099 for this Jordan Frax, I was able to get just south of $200 for on the marketplace. The silver I sold for just south of $400. Sorry, 450. And this is cheap now. I mean, the prices have gone up for them. People actually want them, but just that alone, like I was what 50, 60% back on after fees and stuff. 50% back on just the money I spent just on that alone, and I still have this gold token. Um, that is I could easily flip that for at least $1,700 right now. So
Is
I
that what
was
they're is that what they're at?
yeah. So one of my buddies sold it for zero point 0.4 Ethereum, and so that's
Mhm.
just south of $1,500 right now.
Heck
And
yeah.
just that alone, like I was not going to lose money on this. So I was really excited to just see where these actual packs for the Raz tokens went. And so with these 200 tokens, I mean, it's all random and it was randomly distributed over 50 cards. So some of the cards I got bunched up, like I had 9 tokens for the Holland Topps Chrome Sapphire PSA 10 that I was really kind of jazzed for. And got as low as like one token for the PSA 7 Jordan that you had a pretty good chance at too.
Hmm.
And that was the spread. Some of the cars were just, in my opinion, kind of garbage. I mean, that really shouldn't have been in there, but it went all the way from there to 5-figure cards, and I think that was fun to
Yeah.
have a chance again for $5 at some of these 5-figure cards. Like, how else are you ever going to own like a Patrick Mahomes Nike swoosh from his rookie year? You're just
Or
not.
even the contenders, they had no
Yeah, yeah,
problems
the
with contenders.
contenders auto. I mean, there were a lot of fun cars to chase,
Hmm.
and so 2048 to start the first 50% elimination and was like, oh, okay, let's just see. And surprisingly, like, I think only a handful of my 200 got eliminated. I was like, oh, okay, so there's some chance, there's some anticipation here, and we whittled it down to where did they stop? I think it was 1,020. No, it's the round 256. I think was the big stopping point.
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah, and so after the first day, you got all the way down there with a bunch of trades and a bunch of sales along the way, and I stockpiled a few for a couple cars that I wanted, and so I tried to increase my odds a little bit. and I liked where I was sitting. Round of 256, I had a lot of cards live, and I wanted to see where this went at this point because again, I'm free rolling with profit already, and I was like, well, screw it, let's just see where it goes. So after that first day, kind of reassessed, and I was like, okay, I kind of get the point of this now,
Okay.
because now down to about a tenth of the spots that you started with, things got a little bit real. That's a better number to say you have X out of 256 spots chance to win a card. That's
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more relatable than 1 in 2,000, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And so this is where the Discord got interesting. People were really kind of gunning for their card that they wanted. I mean, like really gunning. I mean, the offers that were flying through for the tokens. I mean, you saw as much as like, $100 a token for the Jordan PSA 7, right? Because it's 1 out of 256 chance. Like you stockpile a couple of those, you got a pretty solid chance.
Yeah.
And I had fun with that. Like I had way more fun with that than I thought I would. Like again on the Discord, people were just having fun with it. And then
So
so
I
from yeah,
real quick, just to add in on that, to add in on the fun. I didn't even get in on any Discord, any trading, any selling. I was just swamped busy doing other things. But I did have in the back of my mind to go through my phone, refresh, log in to see where the rounds were. So the excitement to see what survived to the next end, that was just super fun on my end alone.
yeah, yeah. I think as the customer, I think that's where it got fun, right? Like once things
Mm-hmm.
began, you're like, okay,
Yeah,
I kind of get the point of this now. Yeah,
it's
it's like
happening.
survivor mode. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so what happened from there? I think after the next round, things really got whittled down to like 9 different cards for me. And then to keep the story a little bit shorter, where I got really excited then was at the round of 16. So once there was like a 1 in 16 chance at winning these cards, I was down to 3 different ones. One was the 54 tops Hank Aaron. One was a Tim Duncan tops Chrome rookie card. Then the third one, oh yeah, the third one I really wanted. It was an authentic Pele auto from Allen and Ginter, which I eventually lost out on. So um, got whittled down to 1 in 4, and both the Tim Duncan and the 54 tops Hank Aaron were still live for me. Like I had one token for each. I was like, oh crap! Like this is legit now. There's this whole like fatal 4-way craze in the Raz world right now, where you take one spot out of 4, and the bottom spot pays for the whole card, and
Mm-hmm.
the top spot's the winner. But this was a little bit different because I had nothing else to lose, right? This was a legit 25% chance at one of these cards, and the Aaron was valued at like $8,000. So this is where the strategy came in. People were PMing me trying to buy out my stake in that 54 tops Aaron. And so at 1 in 4, like, my share was around $2,000 in real world value. So people were estimating that at about $1,600 after fees. And then, so my offers were exactly 50% of that, which was very consistent with what we were calling the shark offers all the way along the way. You could bail out on any of your tokens for essentially 50% of what they were actually worth. So
Mm-hmm.
some people were cashing out on that, and people were trying to take advantage of that lowball offer and kind of leveraging that against me. It was like, hey, I'll offer you like, 10%, 20% above that. Like, do you want it? It's like, screw this, no way. Like, I don't want 50% on my dollar chance at winning an $8,000 card. And so I turned down all those offers. And I was just like, hey, let's just see what happens with this Hank Aaron. So I survived that next round. So now I have a 50% chance at winning both of these cards. I'm like, oh crap, like this is really real now. Like, how did this happen? How did we get to this point? And this is where the strategy really just became like there wasn't really a right or a wrong choice at this point. Like the other person who owned the other token. So the other person who owned the other token that had that 50% chance on both of those cards tried to buy me out on Discord. And one of the other guys in the Facebook group, meanwhile, was also trying to buy me out. And it was so tempting, Bugs. I mean, it was so tempting. $1,600 was not nothing at that point, right? So do you go home with
Yeah.
$1,600, or do you just say, I'm going for broke, I'm going for the card because it's an $8,000 card?
Mm-hmm.
And, me being the gambler that I am, the answer to that. Like, I was
Yeah.
just, I've got these two chances. Let's go for it. And this is where the Hank Aaron story just got complicated. So we mentioned earlier that OpenSea was this digital marketplace where you could have each of these RAS tokens listed the entire time to see if somebody would buy you out. And so that's what was trying to happen in the background for all of these cards. And by the time I got down to this, I forgot that I had listed this 54 tops Hank Aaron token way early on for just some stupid high number. We're talking like zero point 0.5 Ethereum when it was worth like $2. Yeah, because you didn't want somebody to buy you out for something cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And that survived. Like that stood. Nobody really wanted that until it was one of two tokens left. And this guy in the Discord, he was like, "Oh, well, can I buy you out on it?" And then he like went on to OpenSea and he saw that I still had it for zero point 0.5 Ethereum. So zero point 0.5 Ethereum was about $1,700. And he was like, "Dude, take that down because that token right now in actual value is worth $4,000. What are you doing trying to sell it at zero point 0.5 Ethereum?" I was like, "Oh yeah, good point." But I was completely swamped at work. Like I just could not do anything about it. I was like, no, whatever. Just gonna roll with it. So my token goes into this final elimination, and I scroll through after refreshing. I'm like, oh man, my token got eliminated. It didn't say that I had a shark offer anymore, so I knew it was a dead token. So I was kind of dejected, even though I won the Duncan. I won the Duncan. So out of like one spot out of 2048, I won a card. And so that alone was fantastic. I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
sweet. I mean, it's only an $800 card ish, but that's not nothing, right? So like
Yeah,
on top of everything I already had.
you're one of the
Yeah.
first winners to win in this whole thing. I mean, I think there's
Yeah.
so much fun into that. Yeah,
one
congratulations.
one out of 50 people, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. That by
One out
itself
of
is cool.
47. That jackwagon, who's my friend, won three.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, no, that's just
Dude doesn't lose.
ridiculous.
Kirk
Yeah,
Holcomb does not lose. I'll give him a shout out.
apparently
That guy
not.
does not lose. He hits and breaks. Oh my God, he does not lose. But carry on.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
see.
I'm sorry.
No, I see him get tagged in all those posts in your great Brook. So here I am, like happy that I won, but dejected because the card I really wanted at that point was the Aaron, obviously, because it was worth more. So I thought I lost. But then, I finally get off work. The elimination had happened maybe 45 minutes earlier. I finally get off work and I'm just scrolling through my emails and it says, "Oh, Tim, you had an offer on OpenSea for zero point 0.5 Ethereum for your Hank Aaron token." I'm like, "I did?" And the next email, "Your token sold for zero point 0.5 Ethereum." So I was like, "Oh, sweet." Like I thought for my losing token, I had gotten $1,700 back. And I was like, yes. So I won twice. Like
Heck
on a losing
yeah.
token, I made money. And so that was a possibility. So I was like, oh, quite, like this day worked out just fine. Like, because Christian Fitch, he was in my ear chirping the whole time. It's like, let me buy you out at 1,600. Like, we'll hedge. Like, we'll split this card. If you lose, like, you'll still get your $1,600. And I turned that offer down going into the final round. Um,
Mm.
so I missed
Second
out on
day
the
I've heard his
1,600
name.
initially. Yeah, yeah. So I
He's
thought
a
I missed
stud.
out on his offer because I turned it down. Christian, nice offer. It was very, very fair. And so you're probably happy you didn't spend that $1,600 for what we thought was a losing token. So I post about it on Facebook, right, Randall? And I'm like, oh, sweet, I made money off of a losing token. And then some guy I know, also named Tim, he's like, wait, Tim, that token you owned, it was the winning token. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? No, like it got eliminated, right? Like that's why I was so happy about making money on a burned token. It's like, no, go back and check. Like, crap, it was the winning token. It's like, no, I could have won both of these. Could have won both of them. I lost an $8,000 card, but I was
Oh,
happy because I thought I lost it straight out. And then I was happy because I made money on a token I thought I was losing with, but I somehow screwed myself. So that was a big learning experience. It's like, even though selling your token along the way was such a fun option, it was just one other thing to like keep track of, and I couldn't, right? Like that was something that just spaced my mind because I set that price way early on. I was like, there's no way. But I'd forgotten that I had done that. And then because of all those eliminations, it finally got to that point where it was worth it for somebody to buy me out to pay that price on that token. And I left it too cheap. Somebody got it, the winning Hank Aaron token, for $1,700 off of me. It was my token that I should have won an $8,000 card with. and somebody won it off of that. So there were
Lucky,
winners all around, and I was a
yeah.
loser despite winning.
Hey,
But it was fun.
but
It was fun. Yeah.
here's the thing. I mean, yeah, you learn from it though. I mean, you learn that. I think that's kind of the bit where I seen it from afar. Not, you described in the story a little bit on Facebook, but I was like, man, you gotta, if you get invested into this, like you can actually really do fun. And I mean, I don't know if the sharks want to hear this. I was chatting in chat with another good hobby guy, Josh Waldman, and he bring
Yeah,
up some
yeah.
great points. And he's like, yeah, the sharks were offering really low. I was like, well, you can offer on OpenSea. What happens if you became the shark that was offering comparable or a little bit low to the tokens? You could come through and smoke all that, and then you're still getting
Exactly.
the card for a percentage. Like you can beat the sharks at their own game. It's not, you don't have to play their
No.
game. It's all up to you.
Yeah. Yeah. That was
So
an interesting wrinkle to the strategy, right? So these shark offers along the way were always those like 50% value ones, and
mhm.
people realized that really early on. So that's where the Discord became valuable. It's like people were like, "Oh, I'll just PayPal you. Oh, I'll just send you, your asking price in Ethereum. Like we'll keep it off this marketplace that would have taken a fee. We'll keep it off the shark offers that would have given you not only just 50% value, but then a text form on top of it paid out in a physical check. So that was just really disappointing to find out that that's how that was going to work. And so it became really apparent really early on that if you were going to sell your token, you do it off of all those avenues and you could actually make money with your token. And then people buying those tokens were really happy because they got fantastic value because that's where the value was at the end, Randall. It was like 1 in
Oh
64,
yeah.
1 in 32. Like your token became valuable. Like it was a real chance at winning something. So that's where it got fun.
So to help those out who might not understand how we're coming up with the value is what I essentially suggested is whatever card you're in, go to eBay, see if you can find about 5 comps with it. And then
Yep.
however many spots are left in that is how much you divide it by that number. And then that
Mm-hmm.
roughly gives you an idea of how much that token works, right? Is that how you were doing it?
No, exactly. And that held true from the very beginning, too, right? So $5 times 2048 times 50 cards. That's how much the whole drop was estimated value. Like,
Yep.
that's how much its estimated value was. And so that's why the $5 price worked out, right? Like, that's how you got a chance at some of these bangers. Some of them were worth less than, the pack that you paid for, and some of them were, like chase worthy. So yeah, and that's where those values came from. Is that's how the shark offers came about. That's how people were starting to figure out how much to offer other people in real money. And yeah, it got fun. Like I said. um, yeah, so who knew, right? I mean, you're
Yeah.
opening these digital packs that became valuable in the sense that somebody wanted them and would actually pay you money for a chance at a card. And yeah, if you held that final token like I do right now for the Tim Duncan, at some point in my lifetime, I can trade that in for what they call a vault token because all these physical cards are kept in a physical vault somewhere. So I can redeem that for that card and just can become mine. So
Well, here's the thing about that. What people don't, well, that card right now, and the idea, and I guess this is what I learned. So
yep.
just a backstory to before DC even jumped into this, I probably put about 10 hours of research into this, hours of conversation with Jeff and Aaron, our rep, and then just learning it, talking to people who I somewhat see talk about crypto NFTs, getting that familiarity. So we put a lot of time and effort into it.
Mm-hmm.
Once like once we got that idea out there and oh my grief, Tim, brain fart again.
You're good.
Oh my gosh. Man, so fried with so much going on. Where were we at?
You're just saying like at the end how um,
I know, man. It was a it'll probably come back to me. I feel like an idiot. But
no, not at all.
yeah. Anyways, we'll move on. If I come up to it, I'll come up to it.
You're good. I actually just got a message from Jeff French. He's interested in hopping on with us, so I'll send him the link and see if he can make it. But
Absolutely.
um, I think, yeah, just from beginning to end, there were just so many different wrinkles. And again, the value of these tokens then at the end, it's not just the fact that you can trade it in for the physical card. There's this idea that, going back to what we said way at the beginning, is that it's not just because you own the token for the physical card. Like, this is like a sentinel moment in the hobby where it has completely collided with the crypto world. And whether we realize it or not, like, this is the first time something like this has happened for the sports hobby. It may take another year, it may take two, it may take another 5 years for people to finally come around and say, hey, this is legit. But there's already enough of a groundswell of support from the crypto side that the crypto side has succeeded. That's not going anywhere at this point. Like, there is so much energy, so much money, so much time getting put into just NFTs on the crypto side that once the sports world catches up, I do agree with Jeff. Like, this is something to be reckoned with. Maybe not in this format necessarily for sweepstakes, but in some way, shape, or form, crypto and trading and selling and buying and owning a card is going to kind of leapfrog all of this. And so the value of my token again is going to be worth somehow more than the actual value of that Tim Duncan because of so many reasons. It's going to be something somebody wants for reasons, not just because of the Tim Duncan.
Absolutely. And that's actually what I was on with. It's the blockchain itself, which I'm quite unfamiliar with. The unique bit that you have going on right now, Tim, is that your name is the first name attached to that card. So for the history of that card staying on this blockchain vault, it will always be there. So the next time it's sold,
Always.
it's going to have that history, and then you're always going to be tied to it until it's eventually cashed in for the redeemable token. So then it'll just have its history for what it is. And then essentially that token still holds value. It's just not, the live card. Right.
Exactly. Let me get.
Hey guys, am I in here?
Yeah. Hey, Jeff. Thanks for
Yeah,
joining us. So we've
sure
got
thing, man.
Jeff French. Nice to have you on, man. So
Thanks, man.
Randall and I have just been chatting about your project, and we were just at this point where we're like discussing the fact that these tokens, like the vault token that I have for the Tim Duncan that I won, like how it's got inherent value now. That's not just about that Tim Duncan card, and how you've really gotten to this point where, like you were saying in your YouTube video and the Instagram live session, that like the sports world, the sports hobby world, and the crypto world are really colliding here. And not on top of that, you added this whole art wrinkle that would just be fun to talk about all by itself. But like, this is just fantastic, Jeff. I mean, seriously, like there were so many wrinkles to this whole thing that you've done that it's pretty cool.
I mean, I really appreciate that feedback, and obviously, I'm super passionate about it, and we're trying to move really quickly on a lot of different things to make this all come together. I've got a really good team, and they're executing on it, and I think a lot of people. I tried to explain this kind of early on. The development of the PAX model was basically to do exactly what we did there, was to get some of these cards in your hands that are now tokenized, and now you can begin to think about what do you have here, and what does this mean, and there's a lot of growth that needs to happen. I'm not pretending that there's a ton of people that are ready today to drive the liquidity that we're looking for, but it's going to come, and I feel really confident in the roadmap we have. I think that the fractionals project, the way that that's going to cause this collision, I think that's going to be really good, and then we have a really exciting officially licensed project coming behind this that is going to be something that I think that the pure NFT people, it will not have a physical component. And I think they're going to really enjoy that. And then it's going to get them in our ecosystem. And so it's really all along the vision was the 1-2 punch. Get something that the physical collectors can embrace and come into, get something that the digital NFT folks can collect and come into, and then kind of create these bridges in the middle that can then get them into each other's side. And I really do believe that Tim Duncan card there are people right now that are holding really nice NFTs, CryptoPunks, Bored Apes, other things that are Tim Duncan fans. And if we can expose them to that and they can understand, I can now hold that card and I can own it and have exposure to that asset class and never have to worry about taking care of it. I think it's going to be, I think it's going to get there. And so, yeah, I'm super excited about all of that. But I really appreciate that feedback.
No, and that's exactly who reached out to me. Like the second I won that token, like Tim Duncan fans came out of nowhere on the Discord or like started finding me on Facebook. And were like, "Hey, dude, like I would love to own that Tim Duncan token. Like it's literally the first one as an NFT of Tim.
Did
Duncan.
you guys did you comp the card in the physical world, and how does that compare to what the offers have been so far?
Well, so people, I mean, they're hunting for value still, right? I can't fault them for that. So the comps were roughly like $800 to $900. So it's not a huge card, and so people are coming in around 600 because it was above what a shark offer would have been, and then they still wanted value in it, and also to avoid gas fees, on Ethereum. They were saying, hey, I'll just pay you directly on PayPal or something. And so there were all sorts of wrinkles to it. So.
Yeah, and so that's the other thing that we have to sort out too in some of the value proposition of this stuff, because there is a place for a layer 2 chain as it relates to cards. Like I don't think that a lot of that card is it's one that, because it's the first, I've tried to offer already on the Steph Curry that came out, that we had one of his first year prisms, not the rookie.
Yep.
Nice. I actually wanted to get that card and send it to Steph because he's getting into NFTs.
Really?
Yeah,
hey,
he's got a board.
Yeah, no, that's right.
You know who has that card? That's
I don't
what it
know.
was.
I don't
we
know.
Do. Our group won it. We're going to give it away, bro.
Well, dude, I put a $2,000 offer on that card, and
somebody did comment on it. I say, I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I offered.
That's the one, right? The one that we have to give away, right?
I thought for sure. I was like, whoever wins this, as soon as they win it, they're gonna hit this offer. So I dropped $2,000 offer on that card.
Offer,
yeah, it's a $500 card.
I know.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's a $500 card.
But yeah, I wanted to. I was going to buy it and send it to Steph, but no, you guys go ahead, man. That's the thing. I don't want to.
We'll present that idea and let them know. I'm sure whoever wins a $500 card will take a $2,000 offer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so give it away and I'll buy it. But one of the things that I don't want to do is I'm not.
We lost you a little bit there, Jeff.
I think keep me off for a second. But I'm not trying to pump anything or make anything fake, right? I'm telling everybody why I want to buy it. I want to buy it because I want to use it as a potential marketing piece, because I think, Steph's got an ape and I know someone who knows him. So I think I can get it to him with a conversation. We had Nishak last night commenting on Twitter. I think he commented on the post where the video about fractionals was, and he's like, this is great, I'm in. It's look, guys, I'm not going to pretend for a second that this thing is not still clunky. There's a lot of blockchain is not easy, and there's a lot, but it's going to get easier. Yeah. I think a lot of people misunderstood grotesquely the economics of this. Like they looked at the price of the cards, they looked at the value of the pack sold, they thought about it in the traditional sense of the RAS underground. And they're like, oh, this is way over comp. And it's like, well, okay, but you do understand everybody got a big chunk of this Jordan. And if you guys looked at that market, bronze fraxes right now are going for that. Last I checked, they were selling for 600.
Point.
Yeah, exactly. And that was $30 to get in. So.
No.
There's so many layers.
I can't hear you guys. Can you hear me? I hope you can.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, no, we can hear you.
Okay,
yeah, you're good.
How about now? Can I hear you?
So that. Yeah,
one more time.
Craziness, right? Nope, you're good.
How about try one more time?
Nope.
All right, I'll go without the headset. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, we're good.
They can't hear me now, so I can either hear them or they can hear me. One or the other. It's not both.
See, we're not even the crypto guys. I mean, come on, we're not the internet.
Exactly,
guys.
We're not. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. But no, I think that's a crazy idea. Like if Steph Curry got wind of this, or like any of those NBA guys,
can you hear me?
Like you're colliding art, sports, crypto, the hobby. I mean, that's 4 different wrinkles to it that are like just. I mean, that's a perfect storm. I mean, I think this is going to be way more successful than NBA Top Shot. I mean, it's not even close.
I'm not familiar with Top Shot, but I'm going to tell you how simple this was for me. I didn't even think of a big picture like that. I just enjoyed it for the fun bit of traveling through and then getting to learn a new system.
Exactly. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. So
Jeff, if
sorry.
you're
Sorry.
back with us, yeah. So you were saying that there's definitely some kinks to work out and how people aren't looking at this quite the right way from the sports hobby side because they're not seeing the value of the crypto and the NFT side of it. But
Yeah,
like
and just
aside
on
from that, yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just on straight card value, they, they're, I think that they're missing on just the value that went in. They only look, oh, the packs, the shark offers, and there was a couple guys in, a couple groups, and they were just really hung up on the fact that, like like guys were saying, yeah, this is the only way you can sell a $1,000 two or whatever. I don't even know what that two is worth for $10,000. I'm like, guys, yes, but there's also a Mahomes gold contenders in there, and it's $10,000. And so you have to look at it in the aggregate, and you also have to look at the value that was provided, through the fracks. And right now, today, the last fracks that just came off, it sold for, my math is, it looks like $475, and the cheapest one you could buy on listing right now is about $600. And so, those went out. You paid $150 and you got that. And so I think once the art's on here, we expose this to the main chain liquidity. Right now, if you look at the floor of this, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's only 10 of these for sale below a 0.2 ETH floor. So that's like 7.
You don't
so
want to know what I
seven,
sold my bronze at.
I tried to tell guys to hold on to those things.
No, I mean, I was going to hang on to my gold because I was like, well, that's where the bang for the buck is. But like I sold my bronze for, I think it was like 0.05 ETH and then the silver at 0.11. And you're telling me that the bronze is already worth like, double what a silver went for. I mean,
yeah, but the good thing is you're in a great spot with your these early, nobody else can ever go back, and there's no time machine. Nobody can go back in time now and start at the first drop. So those that were in there, they're going to be just massively rewarded. If you look at, I heard this morning that somebody, you guys probably know him, and actually I don't want to drop his name because I'm going to tell you the number. Somebody who we all know in the hobby, who was in on Genesis, and he was at the Ruby level. He told me this that his he got an offer on his Ruby this morning for $35,000, $35 grand, and he paid $5,000 for it, and so and he still has a gold, a silver, and a bronze. I mean, I tried my hardest to load this thing up with value, and guys just man, it was like the proverbial horse to water. You lead them there, but you can't make them drink, and we tried. And so, but look, it's not too late. I don't want to exclude the hobby. I pull for everybody to win. I've always tried to be a guy that, like, somebody else's winning doesn't come off of my plate. So I pull for people to win, and I want these guys, even if you cursed me for a scammer or whatever, you're still welcome. You're still welcome. Like they did, they 100% did. Yeah, so you're still welcome, but you just come into it with an open mind. Expect it to. It's not going to be super. It's not as easy as pushing the button right now in PayPal or Venmo. It's not. It takes some effort.
We talked about earlier.
But if you're willing to do that, and that's the other thing, guys, it's not just Blokpax. I've seen some guys that have come in and they got in on a couple of projects. They minted some stuff. They did well there. I had a friend of mine personally. He was not a card guy. Like he did cards when he was a kid. And I told him, I said, I'm doing a project. I really think you should come in. You should buy some packs. So he did. He got in at the gold level. Once he got in, he was like, this stuff's pretty cool. He minted Oni Force, which is an NFT drop, an anime drop. And I think the mint was around, I think it was a 0.08 mint. So he's in that, he's in it for $250. He minted 5 of them, and he sold them for 6 ETH a piece.
60? 6-0?
6 ETH each.
Oh, 6. Okay. Well, that's
so they ran out. So he sold them for combined 30 ETH. $90,000. He minted them all for $2,000. So
that's ridiculous.
And he had never heard of an NFT. So needless to say, he owes me a really nice dinner right now. But
he does. Maybe a car.
but that's the kind of stuff that's out there in this space. And like this week right now, it's a little bit of a slow week in NFT land. Things are kind of cooling. I've actually been buying this week. I haven't bought other NFTs for heck. I think the last thing I bought probably been about 60 days. But I feel like now the market is reestablishing a new floor on some of these big run-ups. So I feel like it's a buyer's market right now. So I bought some projects yesterday. I actually ones that I thought I'd missed on, they kind of came back down, and I used that as an opportunity. So it's just if you understand, I did put one post out that I encourage card guys. I was like, look, if you look back at your parents or grandparents when they wouldn't embrace the internet, that's you today if you're turning your nose up at this. So just don't be like our parents and grandparents were. Roll your sleeves up. And if you understand human behavior, you can be successful in this, because the human behavior elements in crypto NFTs are very similar to cards. They're very similar. Yeah, you can see it 100%. When it moves. You can feel it. You can feel what's getting hot. But the liquidity is just exponentially higher. So it's a cool space. So I think it's there's a lot of money out there, but I don't want to just keep talking here, but the one other point that I would make is that I really, really want to see our project take a more controlled growth. I hope after the minting next week, I don't want to see our project 10x overnight. I don't want to see fractionals do that. That's not sustainable, yeah. No, I want to see a nice, solid, steady return. Hopefully we'll have our moon weeks where things will hit and it'll moon and maybe reestablish a new base and people will make money and that's great. And, but again, these are collectibles. It's not an investment. You're collecting, you're flipping your collectibles. It's what it is. And yeah, I think it's just a super cool, fun space. And the liquidity is it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Really did you guys hear the point I made of how much is traded? Actually, I saw a stat this morning that it was like $3.5 billion. Yeah. I quoted $2.7 billion in my video because I only added up the top 20 projects, but $3.5 billion. I mean, guys, that's bigger than eBay, bigger than eBay plus Golden plus Heritage plus REA plus Leland's. Add them all together, and they're not that big for the year. Yeah, for the year,
yep,
it's insane. It's insane.
And I think that's where a lot of people are just having a hard time wrapping their head around, not just NFTs, but like just how much money, or what you're calling liquidity, is just the money that's there is just, it's on a different scale from like what's going through these Facebook groups. I mean, it's just people need to come around to that. And I think that's what finally got me around to it.
Yeah, but I'm going to be one of the biggest hard heads on there because I'm a toy collector, Hot Wheels collector. I still like playing, and then same thing with handling of the cards. I do believe, though, this is just about the best way to connect the hobby to this world. And I think it's a great platform to do it on, honestly.
Yeah, and guys, there's always going to be an element of people forever that will not want to do this because they do love going to a card show and touching and dealing in person with another human and handing each other the cards. And that's great. It's totally cool. But I think most people that are in the hobby, you kind of have at least in my experience, most guys have some cards that are kind of they look at them, whether they're investments or not, guys look at them as investments. And then they have the ones that are true PC. So I could see a scenario where it really makes sense to expose the portion of your card, your case that is investment. I think this makes a heck of a lot of sense. The stuff that's your PC that you really want to, that stuff probably doesn't make sense because you want to have it in your house. You want to have it in your safe, right? And I'm not going to put every one of my cards on the blockchain. I mean, I've got a Mike Trout card that he signed for my son. It's not going on the blockchain. That card's not for sale. It's a sentimental card. It doesn't have a price on it. I'm probably not going to put my 52 Mantle on because those are cards that I just like physically having in my house.
Sure, yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff that honestly I'd love to. I mean, hell, I've been using other vaults anyway, right? And so if I can vault and still tap into this new world that I believe is coming with liquidity, I think it could be really cool. And then the other thing we're going to do is we are going to have to figure out what the right balance is of value for the main Ethereum chain, which is where all the tokens are now. So even if you want a $500 card right now, it is subjected to the really high gas fees of Ethereum. And if the only value being placed on it is physical card value, those economics don't work great.
It's not going to be there.
So I think what we're going to end up doing is there will be some threshold where it does make sense to expose it to main chain liquidity. Maybe that's 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, whatever that number is, that will be on a main chain vault. And everything else will either be on a Matic vault or a Solana vault where there won't be any gas fees. Still expose it to the crypto world, because all that bridging is going to get a lot easier. So you know how you guys had to did you actually do any buying of tokens? Did you bridge over and do any of that, or no? You just kind of traded and.
No, I definitely did. I messed around in that whole thing, and it was clunky and it was expensive.
Yep. So once you got to get once you get your ETH, the key to that is for the next drop, whatever you want to play with, try to find a good time to bridge your ETH over, and then just leave it there. Well, as long as it stays on Matic, there's no fees. It's really just getting it there. And whether you move $1 million or you move $10, it's the same. So you definitely benefit from moving more at one time. You could literally get together with some buddies, and you all could move over in one transaction if you want, and split it up when it's on the other side. So there's things you can do to get around that, but that clunkiness is going to get really, really developed away. There's a huge push for these. I mean, Matic, Polygon, the company that runs that chain, they have a huge incentive to make the use of their chain easier, right? And that bridge is the single most clunky piece. And then automatically, if your MetaMask can recognize that you're on that you need to transact on Polygon and change it for you, versus you having to go up and change networks and stuff, all of that can be done in a secure way. And I think it will. And I think if we save this talk and we come back a year from now, I think a lot of that clunkiness that we're talking about today will get solved.
Yeah, so I mean, we were talking earlier about like some of the clunkiness and some of the learning curve involved with getting to this point where people could really enjoy this experience. And so, I mean, I know that's one of the things that I've heard the most is just how hard that was. But like on your end, what have you heard as far as like what's worked well, what hasn't worked well? Like, what are the thoughts as far as moving that forward?
So right now we've got, if you've been in our Discord, you've run into Infinite. His name is Michael, and he's someone who actually grew organically out of the company, happened to be a guy that just had a long resume of running help teams and help desks. And he just started helping people. And then I reached out to him. Yep. Yeah, I reached out to him and we talked and I hired him, and he's our community manager. And that was completely organic. You know, he grew out of the community and just basically showed up. And I was like, dude, you got to come work with us. And so, while we have this little bit of downtime, he's working on some guides that we can give people that are specific and how to do the different things and try to make it easier. And he's got a lot of experience with that. So I think he's going to help with some of that clunkiness. As far as the actual process itself, one of the things we learned is that, moving the number of tokens that we're moving in a given round, especially the early rounds, it's very difficult and it takes some manner of time. We wanted it originally to happen real time, where you just basically sit there and you see your tokens one at a time pop off the board. That really wasn't working. Cool. So we went to the pause and snap method. The biggest piece of feedback I got is that guys want more time between the rounds. They want longer windows, and so we're gonna get that for drop 2, because we have to. That also helps with getting over the tech hurdles. So that was one big piece of feedback. Right now there's a lot of questions around tax implications of winning.
That was a big question. Yep.
Yeah, the big thing that I would say to that, right, is I can't give tax advice. I'm not trying to give tax advice, but the thing that I would say is, you every nickel you put in is your basis against that asset. So if you have a tax bill, it means that you won, right? So at worst, you've got an upside situation. I always make the point that taxes, as much as I hate paying them, they're a good problem to have because it means you made money. And so that's something that I've kind of always lived by in the way that I try to view it. But the other thing that I would say is that understand what the triggering events are. We send the we've been told that we send the 1099 when you redeem the car. So take that and be smart about what that means, and understand kind of how that goes. What you put on your taxes is up to you, and I'm not giving any advice on that. But there's certain things that I have to do in accordance with the law, and I'm going to do those. And
right, that's how you legalized it all. So,
that's right.
That's
and
the reality. I don't know why people are upset about that.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys are still scratching their head and don't understand the sweepstakes part. They think they're still like we had actually I won't name who it is, but my team was talking to someone who's a fairly large influencer in the space, and he's like, well, "This is illegal. This is an illegal Raz." And we're like, "No, it's a legal sweepstakes. You can enter for free." Like, how many Raz rooms? I'll tell you what. Try this. Go into a Raz room tonight on Blowout or Facebook or wherever, and when somebody posts a Raz, say, "Hey, I want to enter for free. I'll take slot 8," and see what they tell you.
Nope. Yeah, big fat nope.
Right. So if you want to go through the process, you don't get a frax. You don't get the benefits of the platform. You don't get all the stuff that we're loading up, the value for our community. You don't get any of that. And I personally, I wouldn't screw with the free method because I don't think the juice would be worth the squeeze for me. But if somebody wants to, it's there and they can use it. And that's but again, the best the thing that really crushed it in this one for sure was the fracs and getting that piece of the Jordan. And I think that if the hobby embraces that and says, we think that's a meaningful moment for the hobby, because that card isn't mine anymore. I mean, once we're finished with this, you're not pumping a Jeff French card. You're pumping the community's card, right? It's everybody's. So, yeah. Anyway,
I wanted one of those rubies so badly, but I was like, I couldn't swing it right at the time.
Yeah.
I missed
$5,000 out of a 5,000.
Yeah, maybe there are
absurd,
are
right?
two of them. There's two of them in the open mint. I mean,
That's true.
both of you guys, you both won something already. You might keep your luck going. That would be a big one. I mean, if
huge.
Yeah. No, when you think about prize value and stuff, I mean, you discount things down, present value off future value, and kind of what that's worth. It's true intrinsic value really isn't high. It's a belief system value. I mean, why did someone offer that $35,000 this morning on a ruby? They didn't offer that because it's based in any. What that would value if the only thing they're valuing is the card, that's basically saying that Jordan is worth $3.5 million. Exactly. It's not worth $3.5 million. The card itself is not, but what's the moment worth? What is being the first ever one worth? Like, what is the first CryptoPunk worth? What is the first major piece of anything historically where you get first? What are they worth? And that's it's a collectible value that's driving that. It's detaching from the physical card, and I think it'll continue to detach more. And the really insane part, and I'll tell you guys, I've said this in other forums, and I believe this with every ounce of my being. I believe that card will get purchased. And I don't mean in 99 years. I think that card's going to get purchased in the next 5 years. I have a daughter that's in the 4th grade, and I think that card will sell before she graduates high school. I'm on the record.
99 years thing on the smart contract is not going to come into play. I believe that too. But I think in the sports hobby world, like, they're having such a hard time separating physical card value. I mean, they're just having a hard time separating that physical card value from what this project is, because that's the inherent part of crypto that is just mind-blowing. It's like, it's the belief in what this technology is, or like the belief in what this project might be. And there's no comp for that. You can't go on eBay and say, hey, what's my Ruby Frax worth, right? Like, there's no precedent for it. So
right. It's a total belief system. It's a total belief system. Yep.
So that's really hard for this project. But yeah.
Yep. But if you heard in that video, does it make any sense to you that I'm not trying to, I use my avatar here. That's kind of my little identity thing. But does it make any sense to you that little picture there should be worth a PSA 10 Michael Jordan? Literally, it's a JPEG, guys. It's a JPEG, right. And I could go sell that thing in 5 seconds.
All the time.
I could sell it in 5 seconds. I could get $300,000 for that thing. So what does that? But and how if I was going to go try to sell a Jordan, if I was going to go try to sell a Jordan right now, PSA 10. I got to make a bunch of calls. I got to go find somebody. I got to fly to where they are. It's not easy.
Got to fly across the ocean. I know. Yeah, it'd be so hard.
That's the and that little avatar guy right there. There's 10,000 of them. There's 300 Jordan PSA 10 Fleers. So you tell me on what planet it makes sense for that little JPEG to be worth more than the Jordan PSA 10 Fleer. It doesn't. It doesn't on any planet.
That's why people are having such a hard time hopping into NFTs, though. Like, they don't understand why things are worth that, and they're just kind of poo-pooing it. But that's just kind of foolish to do at this point. Like, even I had to finally acknowledge that after the last
Yep.
year, 2 years. So
I think that's the funny joke that I still get a kick out of, though, is when somebody
JPEG.
says, "Hey, I wish I bought that NFT," and somebody replies with, "Oh, here you go," and it's just a screenshot of it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's so
I know.
fair and it makes sense, but we look like the idiots because you guys are banking off of it.
Yeah, no, but the one thing that I'll say is this too. Every currency that's ever been, because I think that NFTs, when you look at the liquidity and how they trade, I believe that they're closer to a currency than they are a collectible. They're so liquid that they're closer to a currency, and every currency is a belief system. You and I trade in dollars because I believe in the buying power of what a dollar is, and so does the rest of the community. There is a large enough segment of people that believe that a floor CryptoPunk is worth $300,000, and they have the money to pay it. And as soon as that belief system forms, that is the price. Whether you can like it or not, that's the price. And right now today, the market is telling me that a bronze frax that was achieved from buying 30 packs in our Genesis drop today, the market is telling me that that's worth $500 to $600. You can say that's bullshit, but it's the belief system, right? That's what it is. So.
I mean, you're not going to take an Acuna Topps update and suddenly turn that into 4x in 3 weeks. Like, there's nothing in the sports card world right now that reflects that. Like, I mean, like, what are people waiting for at this point? This is the moment, you know?
Yep. And if the adoption comes really fast, as my team gets the vault ready for onboarding, I want to reach out. I've actually started talking to some of the other companies that are in vaulting. I think there's opportunities for us to work together so that we can scale it faster and bring the hobby into this market over the next, not that too distant future. But the faster that belief system forms and guys want their cards tokenized, that part that they view as quote investments, they're not investments, they're your cards, but the guys that view them that way, the faster we would all move together, the more impact we can have. The longer everybody resists, then the longer it takes. But I do believe it's going to happen. It's a matter of when, not if.
Yeah. No, I mean, that'll just be really fun to watch, I think, in the next year or two. But Jeff, thanks so much for your time. I think
guys.
It was just really awesome having the owner of all of this and the creator of all of this to hop on and just kind of validate some of the points that we were talking about earlier, and just to give your insight. And so we'll put this out here for people to watch and listen to, and hopefully it'll just kind of help normalize it and help knock down some of that resistance that you're facing. So
great. I appreciate your time, guys. Y'all have a great afternoon.
Yeah.
You
All
too,
right, thanks, Jeff.
Later, Boog. Later, John.
Yeah.
That was intense, huh?
He's energetic as can be. He loves his project, and that's the one thing I can respect about what he does and how he handles it. He's quite transparent with anything and everything.
Yeah, I mean, like, he obviously gets it that this isn't perfect yet, and I think a lot of people are criticizing him for that. And I admit, like, the project is a little clunky right now. I mean, that's a good word to use, but
it would nice to be.
He's obviously going to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. It would nice to be able to see where, we kind of sit here and think it took about, let's just say 4 to 6 hours to really understand it, get through everything. Maybe some, it just took about 2 hours to sign up, get to OpenSea, link everything up, see actually what you're doing. Man, just get the one-step process that shows everything. And then when you're done at that last bit, it's not that you had to sign up for one thing. At the very end, you signed up for everything. That's where you had to get to. Be able to explain that process, give that information. I think you can cut down the headache of what everybody looks like a nightmare, a few hours down into manageable time. They can do it in between a game. It's not taking up the time to watch a game or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So.
Oh man, crazy stuff. But
absolutely.
Thanks so much for hopping on with me and chatting about this. I honestly thought it was going to be like a 20-minute segment, but like here we are,
Yes,
an hour
sir.
plus later, and there's just so much to unpack in this world, and this is just the beginning. And I have so much to learn. We both have so much to learn about this still, but here we are. Like, this is part of the sports world now. It's crazy.
It is. All right, but hey, thanks for having me, and we'll catch up soon. You guys take care.
All right, DC Sports 87. All right, take care.
Bye.